for us, and we thought this was a timely event, and so we thought we'd bring it together tonight to give you an opportunity to share in the question asking and to participate in a meet and greet afterwards, which we'll do, so that you'll get to know the people that we've elected, all of us, to be in office. And we have a program planned for you, but before we go there, I'd just like to give you a little overview of the Colts Business Association. The mission of our organization is to be a dynamic regional organization striving to promote growth, prosperity, and quality of life for our members and community, and to be the voice of entrepreneurs representing, advocating, and working to enhance the business environment in Colts Neck Township. One of our primary goals at the Colts Neck Business Association is to help people understand the importance of the local business community. You may often hear us talk about shopping local, and we feel that's so important because it's not only the fact that the business owners are here and live among us, but it also has a great impact on the local community. And I happen to pull a few statistics off that I think you'll find interesting. For every $100 spent at a locally owned business, 73 of those dollars remain in the local community. For every $100 spent in a non-locally owned business, $43 remains in the local economy and $57 leave the area. When you shop locally owned businesses, your money is recirculated over and over and creates up to 79% more tax revenue to your community and state. For every 2 jobs national retailers bring to a community, 3 jobs are lost as a result of local business closing down. So we support and we stand by our local business owners, and we do our best to help you realize the importance of those business owners and, of course, to enhance our community in general. There's many things we do with the organization. We print a yearly map. If you haven't seen it, it's out on the table. We also do a quarterly mailer that lets you know who our members are and what we're doing. Every month of the year, including this event, of course. We have our holiday window painting event coming up in November, and so much more in the new year, and we hope you'll take the time to participate. And before we get into our program, I'd just like to say some thank yous. First off to Greg Calderero, who's the chairman of the committee who put this event together. And his team includes Anna Apollonia, Alice Antonucci, Lisa Aldridge, Daniel Fensky, Sue Fitzpatrick, and David Sokoler. So let's hear it for that team too. Thank Jerry Amos, who's our photographer for tonight. Thank you, Jerry. And I also thank Yan Lee, one of the newest business owners here in town, who provided all the food in our green room this evening. Yan owns the new Colts Neck Subway shop, which you hopefully have frequented or will frequent. In addition to that, I'd like to thank Colts Neck High School and the Freehold Regional District, including Dan Simon, who's the principal of the high school, the new principal this year. Jeanette Bruno, who I don't know how this place would run without her. Thank you, Jeanette, for all that you do. Also, Big Ed is here somewhere, and he refused to tell me his last name, so I have to say Big Ed, okay? And he's not the guy that owns the brick place up the street. And Vince Tessick, who's also leader of the DECA program here, and also all the DECA students that are helping out as well. And again, I apologize for missing any of these thank yous. Just a few more real quick. Colts Neck Police Department, Chief Kevin Sauter and Sergeant Christian DeVito, who were helpful in getting us police officers tonight, and also our panelists, I'd like to thank as well, Senator Jennifer Beck, Assemblywoman Mary Pat Angelini, Assemblywoman Carolyn Casagran, Sheriff Sean Golden, and our own mayor here in Colts Neck, Michael Fitzgerald. And I just want to remind you again, immediately following this event, there'll be a meet and greet in the cafeteria, which is to the right as you walk out the doors. Come join us at coffee that's being hosted by the DECA students, and we'd love to have you come and join us for right after this. So right to get into our program, I'd like to introduce you to, again, the chair of the committee who headed this program, and also our moderator for tonight, Greg Calderero.
Jennifer Beck. I live in Red Bank. I have served in the state senate since 2007 and was married a year ago to Dan Shields. I am very, very pleased with the effort that's been made in trying to restore some sanity to the fiscal situation in our state. We're slowly recovering from what was a very difficult period of time in New Jersey. We're seeing real progress in terms of increased state revenues, 140,000 new jobs. We're seeing a reduction in property tax, and maybe not a reduction, but we're certainly slowing the growth of property taxes, the slowest growth we've seen in 2 decades. And we've been successful in approaching and reducing some of our business taxes. We're in the 3rd year of a 5-year plan to eliminate some of the very onerous taxes that are imposed on our small business community. I am happy to join you tonight, and I look forward to our ongoing conversation about the policies and the challenges that face the state of New Jersey. And thank you for welcoming me.
Hi everybody, my name is Caroline Castrand. I am a Colts resident. I live right off of Prime Road. I used to live on New Street. Everybody knew where I lived on New Street because everybody drives to New Street. It's a pleasure to be here at Colts High School. I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience. We have had, simply put, an extraordinary 4 years in Trenton. I came to Trenton for the first 2 years. I was in what they call the super minority. We had no control of either house, the Assembly, the Senate, or the governorship. Then 4 years ago, a new guy came to town, the governor, Chris Christie, and since then we have worked very, very hard in righting the ship. New Jersey was, simply put, a fiscal disaster when that man became governor. Our property taxes, just to give you a perspective on the terrible job the Democrats had done in Trenton, they had run up our property taxes in 7 years from an average bill of $4,958 to $7,281 in just a 7-year period. It was a train that needed brakes a lot. We feel like some of the steps we've taken have absolutely stopped at least some of the growth of property taxes. In this past year, we're proud to say we had the lowest property tax increase in New Jersey history at 1.2%. We understand that New Jersey still has a spending problem. That's a difference, perhaps, from some people on the other side who you hear frequently want to raise this tax or that tax or spend more money. We feel New Jersey has a spending problem. And that's important for people to understand because it's a core philosophical difference in Trenton. People who believe you send enough money to Trenton and people who believe you need to send more money to Trenton. Some of the reforms we took, the pension and benefit reform, when I got to Trenton, they were arguing over whether you could have a pensionable job at $7,500, whether that was a pensionable job. Now, you actually are required to have a full-time job to have a pensionable job. That is such a common sense reform for most people. But that was a reform that was consistently blocked within the legislature every time, and that's something that we have been able to do. Certainly, we're very proud that we funded education in this past year at the highest levels in history. That's extraordinary considering we were able to hold the line on taxes. Some of my personal passion items that I have worked on over the past few years, I've had 77 bills signed into law, whether I was the prime or the co-prime sponsor or a co-sponsor of those bills. One of the bills I'm most proud of came out of an experience in my own life where my husband had a terrible car accident. And a lot of you were wonderful friends. I see a lot of friends in the audience who helped me out after that. But one of the problems I faced after that was I had his physicians tell me that he needed certain services, and I had insurance companies tell me they weren't going to pay for those services. So I pushed very hard, and I was able to pass the Independent Healthcare Appeals Act, which requires doctors and hospitals and every sort of medical office, as well as social workers, to be trained in how to teach New Jersey citizens how to appeal when they are denied by their insurance company. So we worked on a whole range of issues, be it fiscal issues to control your property taxes, which are of great concern, personal issues. Obviously, as a Colts resident, the performance of JCP&L in this previous storm was absolutely unacceptable. There's no other way to put it. We all, if you live in this town, you know, we live without power, we live without water. When you're living without power and water, you essentially have a house that you cannot live in without any sort of running water. When JCP&L demanded a rate cut, I went through their books. We figured out that JCP&L was making over 12% profit. They were entitled to make 8.5% profit by the BPU. I yelled about that, I wrote about that in the paper, and then I collected 1,600 signatures and testified to all of that information at the hearing at the BPU. So we tried to make sure we're always there to fight the local fights, to fight the fights for our families, and to fight the macroeconomic problems of the state. And I just want to take a moment and say thank you to the Colts Business Association, because as someone who lives in town, all the great restaurants you have made my life so much easier. So thank you very much.
by just seeing so many of you that have come out from your homes to come out and hear what we have to say and to really get involved in your community speaks just so much to this wonderful community of Colts Neck. I am fairly new to this district. As some of you may know, we had our legislative districts redrawn a couple of years ago. So I have had the great honor and privilege to be running with Senator Jennifer Beck and Senator Caroline Cassagrande. And I have to say that we are the first all-woman legislative team in the state of New Jersey, and we think the country, so we're very proud of that. Because you have really welcomed me with open arms, and I've gotten to know so many of you, and it's really a privilege to be elected for the first time in 2007. I took oath on January 8th, 2008 with Caroline. We were the same class, and that was also one of the first, that was the year that we went from, I believe, being 45th out of 50 states with the number of women legislators to number 15. So that really did see a big increase in female leadership. And I bring that up because I think that's something that we bring to the table that's maybe a bit different from some of our male colleagues. When I ran in 2007, I said I'm bringing common sense to this office. I am the executive director of a nonprofit organization, so I've had to work across the aisle for my whole professional career. And I have to be an advocate in my daily professional life. So it was certainly a very easy step to become an advocate for the constituents that I serve in the 11th District. I sit on the Health and Senior Services Committee and also Human Services Committee. A couple of the items that I've worked on that I'm very proud of. I'm the author of the New Jersey Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights, which Governor Christie signed into law, and also the Lifeline legislation, which Governor Corzine signed into law, which really gives immunity to anybody that's underage that is in need of medical assistance due to alcohol ingestion. Those are the issues, some of the issues that our families are facing. And one of the issues that I'm really focused on right now is the whole issue around opioid abuse, prescription drug abuse, and as you can see, that I can't call it anything other than what it is, the epidemic of heroin. I have pledged to my constituents that that's going to be really my focus in this lame duck session when we go back. When you think back 4 years ago, and you think about what you were hearing on Jay Leno, what you were hearing on all the late night Jimmy Kimmel shows, it was that New Jersey was pretty much the brunt of many, many jokes across the country. You think back and you think to the day, there was always a string of corrupt public officials that were being led off to the, paddy wagon. When you think that just 4 years have gone by and the difference that our image has really become across this country, one of the things that I am so very proud of that our governor has done, I think, in a very effective way, is to give us back our pride of being from New Jersey. We know for a fact that he loves this state just like we do. And so that's something that, is not tangible, it's not so tangible, but yet it is in so many ways. We have a lot of work to do, as Caroline mentioned, and Jennifer, as far as our property tax reform. We have to get really serious about civil service reform, but we are committed to doing that, and it's just been a great honor and privilege to be serving the people of the 11th District. So thank you very much for coming.
It was a pleasure to be back in my hometown of Colts Neck. I'm a lifelong Monmouth County resident here. It's been a trip for me to the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office. As I mentioned, I grew up in Colts Neck, locally here. I worked at Delicious Orchards, as I think most teenagers do when they're going on. So I attended St. John Vianney, and then Brookdale, and then Monmouth University, Seton Hall University for my master's degree, Fairleigh Dickinson for my second. And I continue on at Monmouth University as a professor now for 7 years in American National Government and Public Policy. Along that road, I attended Monmouth County Police Academy as a police officer right here in our hometown of Colts Neck. And that's where I had my public safety career and public service started. I was a longtime member of the Volunteer Fire Company No. 2 on Carnival Road in Colts Neck, and a Colts Neck First Aider. And so I'm very proud to be here, as you can tell, in Colts Neck. It's so good to see really some familiar faces, and those not so familiar that want to be involved in what is really a great political process if you're involved and you're informed and you can make some informed decisions. Along the way, as Monmouth County Sheriff, I've been in the Sheriff's Office now just over 6 years. I worked for then Lieutenant Governor Guadagno, who was Sheriff at the time, in implementing some new communications systems and technologies in law enforcement in the Sheriff's Office and around the county. And when she had departed, I made a decision to run for the office of Sheriff. And I did so on a platform of more efficiencies, less government, shared services, better emergency management and school security, and certainly, as our Assemblywoman alluded to, fighting the war on drugs and gangs here in the county. I'm sure we'll speak a little bit about that throughout the forum. So through this 4-year period, it's been a trying period with Hurricane Irene and Superstorm Sandy. For my emergency management team, I think both well met. Particularly Sandy, because during that storm we had 0 loss of life here in the county. We evacuated some 75,000 residents, sheltered over 2,500, and really had no casualties attributed to the storm. So that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of during my tenure as sheriff. The other shared services, we've done shared services with Colts Neck since I was on the Colts Neck Police Department, and that continues to grow rapidly throughout our communities and our municipalities, really saving the local taxpayers millions of dollars by combining some services and technologies and communication systems. And so we'll continue to do that. On the war on drugs, we have a special unit detailed with the prosecutor's office and the U.S. Marshal's office now that we had established about 3 years ago. Prior to me becoming sheriff, we didn't have any canine drug dogs. I'm happy to report we have 4 in active service in 38 communities in Monmouth County, and we are adding 2 more in the Sheriff's Office for a total of 6 canine drug dogs. So that's quite our commitment, and it's important for our youth. And then again, for school security, we'll talk a little bit about my emergency management and homeland security team with regard to school security. But those are really the issues that I ran on. We've accomplished a lot. I'm asking to run again here for another term so that I can accomplish much more and continue on with shared services, continue on with our efficiencies, continuing on with our school security, homeland security initiatives, and our gang and violence and anti-drug programs. So to that, I just want to say, because I don't get to say publicly, generally, that you have probably the best state legislator team here in Monmouth County. We have 4 great teams. I'm partial really to this one. They're in my home district, and I will tell you, Senator Beck is a tenacious leader in the State House. Assemblyman Caroline Casagran, again, hometown, but just a tremendous kind of watchdog on behalf of the taxpayers and fighting really for everybody. And then Assemblywoman Angelini and I really have with the Monmouth County Coalition and Prevention First, and a lot of the initiatives on the take back prescription drugs and heroin awareness, and particularly the synthetic drugs that are hitting our streets, have been on a number of campaigns together, and for that I'm very grateful. Assemblywoman, you're doing a great job. And then our mayor here, what can I say? I'm proud of him and the job he does in Colts Neck. So Glenn, thank you to the Colts Neck Business Association. You know, I've appeared before the association in the past talking about things like storm readiness for businesses and security measures that businesses can take, and we'll continue that partnership. I really love it, and thank you so much for being here.
I'm Michael Fitzgerald. I serve as the mayor of Colts Neck this year on behalf of the entire township committee, Russell Macnow, Tom Orgo, Jared Engel, and Jim Schatzel. I want to welcome all of you to Colts Neck, and I thank you for coming out. I'm especially honored on behalf of Colts Neck to have our legislative team here. They are here often. It's not often that all of you get to see that. They work for us, they work with us, they get good things done. It's an honor to have them here. It's an honor for all of you to see them on the stage when they're normally working behind the scenes and getting the job done for us. That we appreciate when we see it done from the perspective of the Township Committee.
Question of an individual on the stage, give them about 2 minutes to answer the question, and then if there's a follow-up from someone else here on the panel that you'd like to add, again, just 2 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next question. Because we have many questions up here that were sent in by email or other means, and we also, I know, have questions from you in the audience. We will be collecting those questions shortly, so we'll go from there. First question I'd like to ask Senator Beck, because it relates to the national government and Monmouth County. And how has the shutdown of the government impacted Monmouth County?
I think first and foremost, there probably isn't anyone that feels that the shutdown was a responsible action, right? I don't care what party you are, shutting down the United States of America and allowing us to look so foolish in the eyes of our international friends. It was an embarrassment. It was not an act of leadership, and I was disappointed by what I observed during those couple of weeks. You know, I think Monmouth County did have some programs that were affected, but modestly. You know, I think by and large that we went for Sandy Hook, and some of our national parks were closed. We had some services that were not available. We had some staffing that was limited at various facilities around the county, but that was thankfully a 2-week window, and I believe things are kind of clicking along.
Actually, there were many, as you well know, many charities, nonprofits really pick up the slack for our most vulnerable citizens throughout Monmouth County. And a lot of them are dependent on government grants. And I know for a fact that there were a number of agencies where the payment, the federal grant that they had, the payments were held up. And that ultimately then trickles down to those that they're serving. So I did hear that on a number of occasions as well. Hopefully now everything is open, but I do just have to reiterate, it was so disappointing to see the lack of leadership that caused it to be closed.
As I said, we solicited questions via the website, online, and Facebook. I would say that the number one question that I saw that came across was the Affordable Care Act question. Obamacare obviously has a huge impact across the country. I want to open the question up to the panel in terms of what your opinion is, where do you think this is going, and how it affects New Jersey specifically.
Look, I think the goal of allowing all of our citizens health insurance coverage and making sure that everyone has access to care is a worthy goal. I think the challenge has always been with Obamacare is how are we paying for it? Because the insurance coverage that's being provided is subsidized significantly. So, you know, the premiums that are being paid by many folks who, until this point, did not have health insurance coverage is being funded through a significant subsidy. And, you know, there are many different projections on all sides of this issue about its ultimate cost, but it's something that is my primary concern, is how we will fund this on a long-term basis going forward. I think, you know, the fear that some of our businesses, our small businesses, that in the past have provided health insurance to their employees and would terminate that insurance and move people onto the national plan, to the public plans, probably is not going to happen. So I think many of the plans that are being offered are plans that their employees frankly don't want. I know many of the plans are being offered in New Jersey limit your access to care just within the borders of the state. So many business leaders are not interested in having their employees limited in that way. But I guess we have yet to see how it plays out. So my primary concern is about the cost over time to our taxpayers and whether or not we can afford it.
Anybody else? Governor Christie's taking a very strong stance on this, obviously. Where do you see New Jersey specifically stay on the national plan? What do you think we're heading as far as the state is concerned? There's a lot of questions out there.
Well, I think what the governor has said is that he cannot sign up for anything that he hasn't been given the details on. And that you have to understand, the man's in charge of our finances. How can he say yes to programs when nobody has given him the cost of those programs? And that's kind of the conundrum that states have been in. I'd be interested to know, and today actually, if you read the Asbury Park Press, the front, the Monmouth section, about how the Affordable Care Act has actually even thrown municipalities into massive confusion. I would be interested to know how many of our Colts Neck Business Association community members are thinking about making employment or staffing changes because of that new mandate, are moving people to part-time where they had perhaps been full-time, or cutting back on those hours to stay underneath. And as the senator was saying, the cost part that is so concerning, and the goal is wonderful. It's wonderful to think and make sure that we live in a country where everybody has health care. That is what we want. But what we don't want to do is make promises we have no way to pay for. One of the interesting particular challenges New Jersey as a state is going to face is our primary care physician shortage. We are already, as we speak, almost 3,000 primary care physicians short. Do you ever try to get into your primary care doctor if you don't have one right now? It's very, very difficult. Most aren't accepting new patients because they're already swamped, and they're swamped for a few reasons. Number one, there aren't enough of them because the Medicaid reimbursements are so low for the people that aren't in those specialties or subspecialties. Number two, New Jersey has a very high cost of doing business. We have incredibly high malpractice here. And certainly now we're adding to those payroll taxes. We're always in New Jersey trying to add to some of those small business taxes that thankfully the governor has rolled back quite a few of those. And we're going to keep doing that when we're elected again. But the reality is those doctors' offices are small businesses. They're part of our GDP. And we make it very difficult to be part of New Jersey's GDP and operate a small business like a physician's office. So the fact that we're now putting more people into a system where we're already 3,000 primary care physicians short. And it's not a particular New Jersey problem. Everyone has a primary care physician shortage. Ours is more pronounced because of the climate we have created in New Jersey for those primary care physicians. So I am concerned that even when we have more people on these health insurance rolls, there will not be a physician's office that will be able to take them, at least around in New Jersey right now, because of the environment we have created to operate your physician's office. And they don't want to stay here with the docs. They just don't.
And that's going to have to change because the numbers are so staggering. In Colts Neck, like so many towns in New Jersey, the health plan costs around $20,000 for an employee, for a family covers on an annual basis. That's real money.
Yeah, our questions are in no specific order. We got a lot of them, so we're going to cover different ground back and forth and hopefully answer the bulk of them that we have. This one's for Sheriff Golden. Sean, you mentioned that you've been here since grown up here, and you've been involved in Monmouth County in every different aspect, including obviously the Sheriff's Department. Is Monmouth County a safer place today than it was 10 years ago?
Well, when you look at the statistics, certainly when you look at the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report published by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, statistically, it's a yes. Certainly, we're more in tune to the violence, particularly in a couple of areas in the county that are really prevalent, Asbury Park and Neptune, Long Branch, where we have to focus on to make sure that we not only in terms of policing, we approach those areas of really importance, and it's, make no mistake, it's important to everybody in this audience. You may be sitting at Colts Neck, but I'm here to tell you, the majority of the heroin overdoses in the county, statistically speaking, and I know there's something are occurring outside of those areas that I spoke of. They're not current inside of them, they're current outside. The Colts Necks, the Freehold Townships, the Nowman, so it's important for every family in the county to realize that, number one, because it's a multi-pronged approach with regard to educating our kids and making sure that they know and keep our kids. But on top of that, in those particular targeted areas, it's a multi-pronged approach with education, code enforcement, after-school activities, church activities, and the like. And so we have to continue on focusing on those programs so that the problem areas do not metastasize throughout the county, and at the same time tackle the heroin and Molly issues. And if you haven't heard the word Molly in the audience, I encourage you to go look it up, because your son or daughter may not be talking about their friend Molly, I assure you. And so, the reality is, we have, myself and the prosecutor, along with the legislators, and we have been touring the county and getting the message out with regard to prescription drug abuse, with regard to synthetic drugs, with regard to heroin. And so, overall, the county is safer, statistically, I say it's safer. It's certainly more visible and more active in the communities, and working together with partnerships that I had mentioned with the FBI, with the U.S. Marshal Service, with the state police, the prosecutor, and then all the local towns combined. So we are creating those task forces to go in and out of those communities that need the most.
And also utilizing more innovative ideas such as Crime Stoppers.
Oh, yeah.
Prosecutor's office has started Crime Stoppers in.
We are using a lot of technology. Somebody brings up a great point. We went to anonymous text messaging for text to tip, so that our teenagers, kids are just as guilty. I'll call them, they won't answer. You text them, and they're right on it. So, we kind of want to give them channels in that technology where you text and tip in, and they've established a Crime Stoppers program. We have, like I said, been in and out of the schools and in and out of a lot of the churches and the like, and community centers, and educating the kids. So, it's a constant. Statistically, I would say yes, but we still have some really hurdles to overcome here. We have a severe problem in Monmouth County that we continue to establish all the resources we can and attack